shoot, I forgot I started filming already. So I decided to come out to the old homestead, just where I grew up, and I'm currently just on the deck that overlooks fields of yellow dead grass. So today's video is a throwback to my first one where I went through all the different categories. And I talked about how I'd probably have to go in depth to at least some of them, if not all. And so this is the first one, which I said was the most confusing one to describe in the main video, which is life principles. So I realized I'd been staying out of a lot of conversations because I just didn't have a strong opinion formed on them. And I didn't like that. The only thing worse, in my opinion, than not having an opinion on something is saying you have an opinion, but it's not really your own. It's just something that you've adopted because of the influences around you. Now, I work in marketing, and so my whole day is revolved around trying to understand how to influence people. And so I know how easily it is that we just kind of accept things and don't really figure it out for ourselves. We don't put the time in, we don't put the study or the hours to really kind of see all of the different points of view and formulate what sticks with us based on our values. So let's get one thing straight. This isn't about political views or religious views or anything in a single grouping that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the opinions that define who you are and the choices that you make across the board. And that there's just way too much these days of people who have a very strong opinion that they are more than happy to impose upon you. But when you sit down and talk to them about it, it's obvious that they're getting all of that opinion from a single Facebook article that somebody had posted that they read and was like, yes, this is who I am, this is what I believe. And it just doesn't hold up. It's because of the same reason why I stay out of these conversations. It's because we're not willing to put in the time to really ponder what we value and what we care about enough to stand for it. The first time I really thought about this, because for a while I was pretty happy just like kind of going with the flow, but then one day I heard a quote that it was attributed to Winston Churchill when I read it. And he says, "Show me a man who has no enemies, and I'll show you a man who has never stood for anything in his life." So that really kind of cut to the core because I realized I saw this as like I was being nice or I was being a very good person because I wasn't causing controversy, when in reality, in some cases, I'm not gonna say all, there's no reason you should be looking to cause controversy, but in some instances it just meant that I was being spineless and that I wasn't standing up for something that I believe in or care about. And I don't like that. So these goals are about me helping me figure out who I am and what I stand for, which will therefore dictate choices I make, actions I take, and once in a while an enemy that I make. So let's get into them. Oh my gosh, I just realized I still have these on. I did not intend to try and be Casey Neistat today, maybe in the future, but I totally forgot I have my sunglasses on. So the first one is develop my own set of guiding principles. Originally I'd said 10 of these, who knows, may end up being more. They're just things that I've come to learn to be true based on my own experiences that I need to remember, kind of one-liners that help me make better decisions in my life. Currently I have 3, and so the 3 that I have are, I'll show you just so you can kind of get a feeling for what these are. The first one is, tomorrow starts tonight. So I've been working really hard at trying to become more of a morning person because I know I'm way more productive. And I've learned that the actions I make at bedtime the night before dictate my success in the morning. And I don't just mean what time I go to bed, although that's a huge factor, but I also mean kind of doing that whole routine of winding down, trying to stay away from electronics, planning my day, just all these little things that set me up for success in the next morning instead of me just going to bed and blindly hoping that when my alarm goes off, I crush it. So the second one is, it may taste good, but does it make me feel good? That was kind of a realization I had recently when I was craving something very terrible, and in my mind all I could think about was how delicious it would be. Then I had the foresight to think about how I would feel after I ate it, and historically I've felt like junk. And so I realized, you know what? When I'm craving something, I need to think about how is this going to make me feel after I eat it, and if I'm going to feel like junk, then just avoid it because it's not worth it. So I followed a bunch of these guys that I just call them success mentors because that's their whole like shtick. That's their business model, is to teach you how to be successful. And one thing that a lot of them talk about is having a personal board of directors for your life. So if you think about what a board of directors does for a business, they meet together, they discuss all the issues the business is facing, and they come up with the overarching solutions for those, and then they get implemented at lower levels. But it's just a group of people that you can go to, and that you should develop habits of going to whenever you are struggling with a decision. Because if they match up with your values, they're going to give you valuable advice that will help you make the best decision you can. So the third one is just to read more. And I did actually set a specific number because I know that just reading more is so vague, I'd never accomplish anything. So my goal is to read 30 books, and again, I'm about 20 months away from my deadline. So that's about a book and a half a month. But I'm a firm believer that reading is not just valuable because of the knowledge that you gain from it, but because it expands your mind, makes you think in different ways, and is just a way of keeping your mind in tip-top shape. So I want to make reading a habit. I want to make it something I do, that I read at a certain time of day or read a certain amount every day, and try to do it before I just let myself go to watch TV or whatever, because that's providing value, whereas the other stuff that I'm doing doesn't. It's not making me better. And books have made a huge difference in my life, which is kind of why I can see the need, because I've seen how much it's helped me with what I have read, and I can only imagine if I read way more how much better off I'd be. Oh man, you know, like when you're sitting in the shade but your eyes are still really squinty and it just gets tiring. The fourth one is to come up with a 10-year plan. An old saying I really love is shoot for the stars, because even if you miss, you might still land on the moon. And I mean, that's how I feel about this whole video project that I'm doing. Like, I have no idea if it's going to reach what I actually am trying to accomplish with it, but I know that it's going to be way better than if I just sat and didn't do it. So it's kind of the idea with the 10-year plan. I get that you can't predict how things are going to turn out. You can't architect the perfect life. But I know that having a plan with specific goals that you're working towards at any given time will help you achieve more from yourself than if you just don't set goals. Now, some of you may think it's weird to like try to create a 10-year plan for something, but I would answer that with a quote from the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, and I'm paraphrasing, but the idea of when Alice asked him which path she should take, and he said, "Where do you want to go?" And she said she didn't know. And then he said, "Well, it doesn't matter which path you take then." And it's the same idea behind why I think it's so important for me to try and create a vision for my future, because if I don't know where I'm trying to get, my choices don't matter because they're not building towards anything. So from filming the intro, I can see how like this video seemed like it was going to be about goals that are very specific to like political or religious points of view. But I hope that by seeing the goals, you realize it really is just about overall like life, understanding what I'm doing and what is important to me, so that I can make sure that I live the life that adheres to that. I'm going to wrap it up because it's way too gorgeous outside. I need to get off of this seat and move around. And I hope y'all are staying blessed, because as of today, I know I am. And we'll catch you next week.